bit. I've been working on decarbonising HGVs for the last 18 months or so, and the key piece of work has been the Zero Emission Truck Task Force. So, trying to work with the haulage sector, the energy sector, manufacturers, really unions, as many folk as possible to figure out what do we need to do to support the introduction of zero emission trucks into Scotland. And it's really early days for that transition, as I'm sure you're all very, very aware. And infrastructure comes up time and time again. That confidence is needed that you can charge or fuel your trucks as is needed across Scotland. But we want to try and get that infrastructure in place in a sensible way so that it's where you need it, when you need it. And you'd be astonished how little data government has on the way that trucks move. So this project has come out of the Zero Emission Truck Task Force. It's seeking to understand where energy infrastructure, both electricity and hydrogen, is going to be needed in Scotland in the future. We want to collaborate very much with the haulage sector and the energy sector to make sure that your data is shaping this, your knowledge of how operations are run is shaping this, and that we begin to have a shared understanding of the kind of locations where this is needed, the kind of phasing where it might be needed. You know, is it important to start at the M8 or is it more important on the A9? Don't know. So the purpose of the project is to work with you to increase our understanding of where we need en route charging and fueling. And we're really talking about the regional and the long distance fleet movements, I guess. We'd You'd probably have depot charging for the more urban movements. So we want to understand the national picture as a whole. We recognise that trucks are incredibly versatile. It's not just about trunking, but every spa, every co-op in our remote and rural communities, every small factory site or timber mill, you know, trucks go and visit these. So we'd like to get as big and as broad a picture as possible. And there's a lot of moving parts. You know, fleets have plans for transition. The energy sector have plans for where they think they can get power soonest. The UK government is developing an infrastructure strategy. And each one of these is weighing up the opportunities and the risks. So we're hoping that this project will increase understanding and will increase confidence in everybody who's looking to invest so that we can understand what's planned, where are the gaps, and I guess what good enough looks like. So this project is seeking to understand what good enough looks like for the early stages of the move to zero emission trucks. The network will, of course, evolve over time to become the perfect 20-year end state. But what do we need so that you can invest in the vehicles you need for those first 5 years, 10 years of the transition? So government has no data to draw on how HGVs move. We recognise it's quite commercially sensitive. We recognise that we can only do this by working with you. And we want to do that. We want to understand as best we can how to get this right. So Heriot-Watt University have a model, a developed model already, which they will explain in more detail because I am not technical, that can take journey movements, data from fleets such as yourself, and already understands the capacity of the technology and begins to say, well, based on this data, it looks as though we will need charging or fueling infrastructure here, here, and here. That model's generally been used by individual fleets to date, but we would like to try and take a Scotland-wide perspective to try and do that shared understanding and that coordination at national level. It'll be as good as the data that we can get into it. So we're delighted to have you on the call today. The purpose of today is so that you can understand what the ask is and what the protection for your data is, and to ask all of the questions that would give you the confidence to join in. There are two asks really that Phil will explain in more detail. One of them is to share the journey data of your fleets. So starting points, stopping points, that kind of stuff. Doesn't have to be up to date. It can be a couple of years old. We'd welcome as much data as we can get from any fleet, large or small, recognising the huge variety that there is across Scotland. We'd also welcome deeper engagement with some folk who are interested to check the assumptions of the model. You know, academics and government do the best they can, and Heriot-Watt have an excellent understanding and have worked with many fleets in the past. But we want to check the assumptions that underpin the model. Is it appropriate to assume that there will be charging at your destination, at your endpoint, for example? For some of you, the answer is likely to be yes. For some of you, maybe no. But getting those assumptions right makes the model operate well. So we'd really welcome deeper engagement with a smaller group to ask, does this seem sensible? Have we understood this correctly? So the outputs of the piece of work will be a map, a visual map of Scotland with sort of broad blobs. The most immediate need for en route charging will be in this area, this area, this area, however many blobs there need to be for that. And we will have worked with the energy providers, so the national grid people, the DNOs basically, Scottish Power and SSE, to make sure that wherever those blobs are situated, there will be appropriate power. The grid would be able either to be upgraded quickly enough or would be able to accommodate already that kind of charging. So there will be the map and the report, which will look at the sequencing of sites, the location of sites, the kind of number of charges, the amount of power that might be required. We will have improved the understanding of the electricity grid in particular about where these sites are going to need to be, because there may be a need for grid upgrades. We won't have got down to the level of this particular field, but something around in the vicinity of this junction on that road. But I think really importantly, we hope that you as fleets and hauliers as a sector will have a better idea of what good enough looks like for you to be able to invest in the vehicles and can track progress as these sites become more real in the future, to have that confidence that you'll be able to charge and to fuel as need be. So once we have that map and that output, which we are expecting around the end of March, it's a fairly short project. I think after we have that, we'd be looking to convene interest around those key sites and really bring them into reality. We'd expect them to be owned and operated by the private sector. Sorry, government's not very good at fuel operations, I would imagine. So it's really about developing that understanding, that confidence, and stimulating investment. We're looking to do it at Scotland level, but I want to reassure you that we're absolutely joined up with the developments from the Department of Transport as well. DFT are aware of this project, they're interested in it. Heriot-Watt are engaged in a much larger digital project for the DFT that this will feed into. And we absolutely recognise that trucks move really freely between England and Scotland. So although this is a Scotland specific and focused project, it is joined up with that bigger picture. So I think my key message is we really want to work with you on this. We want to get it right for Scotland as best we can, and you can really help us make a difference here. So there'll be an opportunity for questions where you can ask me anything you like about that bigger picture and how it'll work in the future. But my role really was to give you that broad overview of what are we trying to do here. I hope I've done that.